Hi, everybody. Steve Albrecht from the Safe Library and Library 2.0 with Layla the Wonder Beagle here, the best library dog in the whole wide world. She's just going to do a cameo today, say hello, and then I'm going to send her on her way. I want to talk to you about my book, Stay Safe at Work. And there's a checklist in the book which has to do with names and numbers for your most important telephone numbers and contacts at your work. So I'm going to send Layla on her way. Let's talk about what some of these things are. In the Stay Safe book, I have discussed the value of about 30 different telephone numbers that you need and addresses to put in contacts for people at your library. This is useful if you're an employee, part-time employee, full-time employee, if you're a supervisor, certainly if you're in a leadership position. Just look at this collection. There's about 32 of these. Let's go over them kind of quickly. I'll post the slides with the link as well. The address to your facility seems like a no-brainer. Sometimes under stress, people forget what it is. That's happened to me in emergencies. The main telephone number for the library, and then maybe some extensions that are important to you. The city police department number for you. It's beyond just 911. Is also, there's an emergency number as well, non-emergency number as well that you want to put in. That's for situations where you may have questions or you don't have an urgent need for the police, so they can send some over another non-sworn type of representative to help out. Same issue with the sheriff's department. You may not need a deputy. You may get some information, have a non-emergency number where they can send over a non-sworn person as well. Fire department or fire district, there is a non-emergency number for them as well. You may have questions about something that the fire marshal can answer or the administrative staff. In your state, there's going to be a state police or a highway patrol. Besides just 911, there's probably a non-emergency number for them as well. And that could be geographic where you are in a particular part of the state. If you are working for the library and your big boss is a city manager, then that number is important, city manager's office. If you're working for a library and it's a county library, you may have a CAO or a county administrative officer or another leader that has a similar title than that. That's a CEO, a county executive officer, so their telephone number. Human resources director or personnel manager for your representative city or county. Or if your library is big enough to have a HR director or a personnel manager, that number, contact number for that individual as well. If you're in a library with a security function, it could be a security manager or a security director. That typically happens when you have a contract, a security company that comes in. They're like a vendor. Typically, there's a site manager that's responsible for their activities and performance. If you have a security director, if you're in a large library district, you want that person's number as well. A security office, dispatcher, especially for after hours, if you need to get a hold of that person for locking the facility or something that requires their function, you want that telephone number in there as well. IT director, especially in emergency after hours, IT manager, if that's a vendor, the people that provide IT services, you want those folks on your speed dial as well. Legal counsel, county counsel, or city attorney. If you're in a city, that's typically city attorney. It's sometimes contracted out. County counsel, if you're in a county, sometimes that's a prosecuting attorney's office or a district attorney's office as well. If your city or county has an ombudsman or a hotline for ethics violations, you may want that number in there as well. And those are typically things that you call in about that management needs to know about. Facilities director, facilities manager, if you have that function as well, especially after hours, who's going to come in and secure the building if there's a broken window or there's a broken lock, something like that. You may have a risk manager in your city or county, someone that's responsible for the risk and the insurance function for your city or county. You may also, if you're in a county, have someone who's responsible for safety. The county safety officer deals with things like hazmat and electrical hazards and things like that. They're usually quite knowledgeable about those things that protect our buildings. Many cities and counties also have a PIO, public information officer, or communications director. That person speaks on behalf of the library, sometimes as an employee of the library or an employee of the city or the county. Labor relations or union representative, if you have an association or a union for your library. EAP or employee assistance program provider, that's oftentimes an 800 number. What is the contact number for your department director or your department manager? That may include cell phones and after hours contacts. What is the contact number if you are a staff member for my direct supervisor and or the PICS, the person in charge at the library? And there could be several of those, of course. If you have an alarm company that responds to your library, what is the contact information for them and what's the protocol to get them to dispatch the police in an emergency? If your building is owned by somebody else, there's a building landlord who is that person in terms of the contact. Cities and counties oftentimes have emergency managers. That's oftentimes a county function. County Office of Emergency Management is people that handle earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, things around weather emergencies, fires, significant situations like that. They will oftentimes be housed at an emergency operations center. You'll need the telephone number for them. When you think about fires and emergencies and evacuations, you may have a floor warden process for your library, especially if you have a multi-story building. And also, if you have a PA system in your library, and not all of them do, but if you have a PA system in your library, what are the code words that we use that folks remember that this is how we evacuate, or this is how we move away from danger, or it's a fire code word or something like that, that kind of like what we have in hospitals. Last one, locations of first aid kits, locations of AED machines. If you're in earthquake country, you have earthquake kits, things like that. If you have gone through my training, we've talked about run, hide, fight, the active shooter, safe room. It's not a designated room, but it's a place where you can go, break room, restroom, conference room, supervisor's office, training room. Maybe a place to shelter in place if there is a weather emergency that you may want to put not only staff, but patrons in as well. Who do you contact in your library or your library district if you lose your keys? And you need to tell those people right away, don't let that go. Or if you need a key card replacement, if you're using electronic key cards. Where are the emergency evacuation maps for your library posted? Typically in the hallways and things like that, intersection points where people cross, make sure those are there. And if you have a color-coded emergency clipboard, it may have things like threats and fire and earthquake and hurricane and medical emergency, and it could be a set of tabs. Sometimes those clipboards are hanging in employee common areas, or we see them in the break room. Where are those if you have them? So that all is in my book, Stay Safe at Work, Your Ultimate Guide to Workplace Security, written with me and my partner, Bob May. You can get that book at Amazon as both a paperback and a Kindle. So for Layla and for Steve Hargadon at Library 2.0, thesafelibrary.com for me. See you next time.